Good morning, YouTube. I don't want to make this video, but it has to happen. I'm having a huge issue with my boat, and I've actually had it for a few years now, and I've just been putting it off and putting it off, but it's finally come to that time where I just got to do it. So the issue that I'm having is, okay, so it's a fiberglass boat. There's no wood coring on the hull anywhere below the rub rail, and actually there's not really any above the rub rail. The only place on this entire boat that there actually is wood coring, which is a balsa wood coring, is on the bow. And I don't know if that was for noise reduction or insulation. I'm not quite sure the reason why they did coring on the bow, but at any rate, mine's had it. My windshield, before I bought the boat, the windshield had a leak in it. When I bought the boat, I fixed it, took off the windshield, and fixed all the screw holes, and got it working good. But the problem was already there. The water actually, where the windshield fastens to the hull, water was getting down some of the screw holes, and it actually wicked into the coring. So what I have now is, and you probably can't tell from this view, but that ceiling is kind of drooping, okay? And in fact, it's actually resting on the shelf above our hanging closet, and I think it's supposed to be about 4 inches above that. So what this is just a vinyl headliner. There's two strips of plywood, one down each side. Oh, and then a third one down the center here, and the vinyl what do you call it, headliner staples to it. And then there is a seam right there where there used to be like a privacy curtain. I'm gonna get rid of that, and then the rest of it's up there. I can actually, you can't see from the video, but if you look here, the ceiling is a little bit of an arc right here, and on this side it actually arcs the opposite direction, so it is caved in quite a bit. Now some of this is just this piece of plywood that they have it stitched or stapled to is actually come apart there and it's falling down, so there is some of that, but I think that once I tear this off and take the first layer of fiberglass off and get all the punky wood out of there, I'll be able to put a brace underneath the center here and raise the ceiling up probably 4 inches. So that's what I'm hoping for. And as you can see, there's also a little bit of water there, so that vent leaks up there, and we have issues. So I guess there's no other time than to get to it than right now. So I'm gonna just start pulling staples out. I've already done, when I first bought the boat, there was a really bad spot there, and I took care of it, and I should have done the whole thing, but I didn't. I just did that one section. So it's time to do it the rest of the way. Oh, and also there's 3 lights, 1, 2, 3 here, and 1, 2, 3 here, and there's nothing above the bow. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna extend this strip of wood all the way up, and then I'm gonna put like another 3 or 4 lights, and they're all gonna be LEDs, so that'll be cool. But right now I'm gonna start tearing down this headliner. Alright, that was a nightmare. Oh, it's just so bad. But it's all out. Well, the headliner's out, and all the cleating, the material that everything's stapled to. I mean, look at it. It's just disgusting. Black. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, and then this is. So now I just got to get to getting all this crap out of the boat. I got to lay this all out because I need to cut plywood to match it and put it all back in here. You know, it went around the things and went down the edge here and the edge here, and then it gives something for the headliner to go over to, and then it staples to the back side of it. So I gotta go and get this all cleaned out and get ready for that. But I think I'm done for the day, so we're gonna get back at it tomorrow. Okay, well, I just started cutting out the ceiling, and it's a really nasty job, but luckily it's only wood and water, so it can get cleaned. Here's the underside of the ceiling. This is what I'm dealing with. This is the balsa, and you can see that it's just absolutely saturated. Just nasty and frozen. It's just gross. And here it is on the ceiling. There's another layer of it. And then this is the bottom side of the deck. So I have this little flange that comes down, and then all the coring inside here, all the way to that edge. And I gotta scrape all this wood out of here. And you can see it comes off pretty easy. So right now I'm going to continue on cutting this out and scraping the ceiling out, and then get rid of all the garbage and show you what it looks like when it's cleaned up. Hey, good morning YouTube. Here we are. It's actually a couple weeks later since I started working on the fiberglass issue with the boat, but I just kind of want to show you where I'm at today. It's pretty bad, but hang on one second, let me show you this. Okay, so I just wanted to get this organized a little bit. This is all the wood cleating that goes on the boat that the headliner staples to, goes around the hatches so the headliner can staple to, and the light fixtures go through. It's obviously all old and warped and everything, so I'm going to replace it all, but I have it to use for measuring. And then these bags are the actual coring. This is all the coring. It's balsa, and some of this, like this stuff, is just dry rotted, but it's still, you know, kind of dry, but it's, you know, see how fragile it is. And then some of this stuff here is just completely rotten, spongy, and gone. So there's zero structure on the underside of the hull anymore. And that's what you get with balsa. I mean, one little leak in a windshield and no air can get in there to dry it out, and this just rots. So this is the bow section that I took out, and it's fairly large. It's 8 foot across there and about 10 feet long there, and it's inside my cabinets and up to almost to the anchor pulpit. The good thing about what I did on the boat is, on the outsides of see, this is all upside down, so on the outsides of this, you know, you're standing underneath it. So this is a starboard side. There's a seam here, and the fiberglass is completely adhered to itself, and then it curves down the side of the boat, and that's another encapsulated area that may or may not have balsa coring in it, but it's hard as a rock. So my windshield was leaking on the screw holes right here, and it wicked into all this, but it wasn't able to go into that other section of hull on either side, so I lucked out with that. So now we're gonna go on the boat, and I'll show you what I've gotten done so far. You can see all the wood is gone, which is fantastic. And that was a nightmare, by the way. I had a power scraper, and took me approximately 3 days to get it all out. And then I got in here and I got everything semi cleaned off, but you can see this flange here. You know, you got your deck hull, your deck side here, top side, and it curls around, and then this is where the part that I cut out was. But you can see there isn't a way through to this other area here. You can see it better here. So up inside here it doesn't connect. So I don't know if they, you know, two pores or whatever, but I just got to clean up around these windows a little bit. I'm going to grind this out, take that off, and then I sanded everything down with 24 grit, and now I got to get some acetone and wipe this down, and then we're ready to install the first layer of mat. And then also you can see what I did here. I put that 2x4 from one hatch to another and wedged this one underneath it, and I was able to raise the deck about 4 inches. And as we come down below, I have, this is all done, all ready to go. I got you can see this flange right here, how this sticks down about 1.5 inches. They had 2 layers of 3/4 inch balsa coring in that section, and then a layer underneath this section. This is a step down because there's like a sun pad up on the deck, so it's 3/4 inches from here to the bottom side of this, so it fits in there. I'm not going to do 2 layers of the Nitacore in there because it's not necessary. You only need 1, and since this is all going to have a headliner below it, you're not going to see any of the contours or anything. But the cool thing about it was, and I was happy, is this whole center section, you can see the flange that runs all the way to the bow of the boat, comes around, runs around here, and then goes down that side all the way. This is a section that had the balsa coring in it, so I didn't have to take out my cabinets to get to that area. I was afraid I was going to take out the cabinets because where the headliner staples to is, you know, there's no room to get to it. But now that I have this down, I just took the headliner down, and I'm going to have just right up above this cabinet is going to be a strip that I can staple to, and then there'll be like a decorative little I don't know, piece of trim where the 2 pieces of canvas come together, or headliner. So yeah, I'm heading off now to go get the resin and the hardener, and I'm gonna get some micro balloons, and I'm gonna get a roll of mat and a roll of roving. The woven or roving or whatever you want to call it is not super necessary, but I figured I would do it because I'm not going to take the part that I cut out that I just showed you. I'm not going to put that back on. It's no use to glue that back up. There's, you know, whatever. It's just there for thickness. I don't even really want to bother with it. I think I'll just make a new sheet of roving going across the whole way, and that'll kind of tie everything together, glue everything together, and be good. The Nitacore that I got is 3/4 inch. One of my friends that's helping me with this, he used it on his boat on a engine cover, and he's a big dude. He's over 6 foot tall. He's over 200 pounds, and he can stand right in the center of that thing, 3/4 inch with a layer of mat on either side, and it doesn't flex. So it's hard as a rock. I've also taken this 2x4 and I've run it from the front hatch to the back hatch, and I put this 2x4 underneath it as a prop, and I kicked it under there and was able to raise the deck a good 4 inches. That's wonderful. The whole deck was actually drooping in the center because that rotten coring was so water laden and no structure anymore that the whole thing just on the weight of itself was just drooping. So now that that's out, and I'm able to prop up that deck, I might actually do it again back here. I might take a little piece and just kind of shove that up. I'm able to get a nice contour on it. So, you know, anybody does fiberglass, when you got a nice rounded contour, it adds a lot of strength. But that's done, and I'm just gonna start laying up the mat, and then I'll put a layer of the Nitacore against the mat right up to the 2x4, and then once that is done and kicked off, I'll kick these pieces of wood out, and it should hold its structure, and then I'll run another slim piece of Nitacore down the center, you know, bringing everything together. And once that's done, I'll take a sheet of roving across the bottom of all of that, and when it's still wet, I will put a sheet of mat on the bottom of that, and that will encapsulate this entire area, and it'll hold that form and be hard as a rock, and I'll also gain 4 inches of headroom. And then after that, I just gotta do the headliner. The headliner, we haven't even picked it out yet, but we're still trying to figure out what to do. I mean, there's a lot of boats that the headliner is in panels, preformed panels that the headliner is stapled to and then screwed to the bottom of everything, and then little cap nuts or little caps over the screws to hide it, or just do it the same way it was. It was stapled from one side to another and then down the center, stretched tight, and then the holes for the lights were in it. Not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'll blow that bridge up when I get to it. Right now, I want to go get some acetone and clean this off because it's already been sanded down with 24 grit. I'm going to get some acetone and clean it off, and any little shiny spots I will hit again. And then it's time to start the layup. So when I get back, I will show you what's going on. Alright, quick little update before we start hammering away here. I got the underside of the deck sanded. What is that? What grit is that? It says 80, but I don't think it's 80. I think it's way worse than that. Oh, 36. Got 36 grit on a flap disc. I was able to get that ground down real good. And then this is that Nitacore that I was talking about, 3/4 inch honeycomb plastic material, and it has mat on the top and the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure or cut out all the board that I need and lay it up, you know, in a stack so I can work off that pile. And then I'm going to cut the mat to fit, and then I'm going to go ahead and wet the mat off and put it on the underside of the deck. And while it's still wet, I'm going to put another layer of resin on the bottom. Well, this would be the top of this board, and then put the board up against the already wet mat. And then I have these PVC pipes here. They work really good. I have to cut a few, but like on this area here, let's say I put it on here, and then I bend it, and I can put it up against the board, and it holds a ton of pressure on it, you know, a lot. So just put them all over the place, and that'll hold the board up real nice. And I just got to cut a couple of shorter ones to fit on the top of the counter, and that'll just hold this up real nice and get rid of all the garbage. But I got a phone call, so hang on. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, I just got to cut down a few of these because I can't bend them. I can't bend them that tight because it's only like 2.5 feet from the countertop, maybe 3 feet. So I'll cut a few of those off, and then I'll be able to put them in different sections and really hold that board up there. But first things first, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this board out and get myself all set up. So I'll be back. Kind of give you an idea of what's happening here. I'm just dry fitting this right now to kind of get my measurements. And then I have Cabasil, and that is going to make a peanut butter consistency, and I can put it in that groove there and kind of fill in that gap. And then when I put the roving over the top of all that, the transition will be nice and smooth. And the same within there, I'll just plop it in there and squeegee it in and make it fit. So as you can see, I'm just slowly cutting out board and putting it up there and then holding it up temporarily. And once I get this done, I'll number them and then start cutting mat to fit, and then we'll start laying up. So I'll be back. Okay, here's where I'm at right now. I got all the coring cut and in place and just held up with these PVC poles, and holds them up nice, and we're good. Got a tight bond or tight joint between each of them. And like I said, where you see that opening, that's because that part is actually lower than that part because of the inset sun pad up on the deck. See how that whole triangle thing right there is kind of lower down by 3/4 of an inch. So anyways, that's all good. Got them all up there, and now one by one I'm going to bring them down and cut out a piece of mat to the same size of it, and then I'll wet the mat, or wet the ceiling and put the mat to the ceiling, and then wet the bottom of the board and then put the board to the mat. So that's what I'm going to do. And then you know, just a whole bunch of poles holding it up and taking in all the gap and everything. So I'm going to get to work, and then I will show you the job after it's been laid up. Oh, what a disaster. But it'll get cleaned up. Take a look down there. That's all the bracing I used to put up the ceiling, or the Nitacore. This is the Nitacore junk. Super easy to work with, and nice and lightweight, and works good. Made a mess down here though. Oh wow, I made a mess. But I was going to do both sides today, but I kind of ran out of room and ran out of poles. So there's a layer of mat up against the hull, and then there's the back side of these boards are wet down also because there's mat on them, and then they are stuck to the ceiling. And then I have all these braces. These are actually my snowplow stakes, and I use them, I don't know, it's got to be 100 of them here, and I just bend them and put them up, and it really holds it to the ceiling. There's no air pockets, no nothing, so came out really good. So I'll just let this kick off for a day, and then tomorrow I should be able to pull these off and move over to the next side. And then after that, another layer of mat, and then a layer of roving. I don't even know what it's called, but that stuff. So back at it tomorrow. It's kind of a pain working overhead like this, especially since I've never done a job like this before. Very hard to stay clean, that's for sure. Drop cloth, even though it came off the floor, you know, from kicking it around, I don't have any drips on the floor. It's just dirty, so that'll clean up. But now I'm getting phone calls, so. Alright, well, that's it for the board layup. This side was dry over here. There's just a couple of corners that I wanted to just pay attention to, because it was starting to get cold last night when I finished this up, and I don't know if it quite cured all the way. So that little corner here was kind of a little sticky and a little wet, so I just still kept that up there, and the same with that number 10 panel down there. And then this side here laid up nice and easy, and all those poles are in there nice and tight. So it's supposed to get up nice and warm today, so this should really kick off and harden up today. And then tomorrow I'm going to pull out this 2x4 and just lay another down the center there. And then when that's cured, I'm just going to cover this all over with mat, and then with the roving. I don't know if I'm supposed to call it woven or roving. One of you guys can say that to me in the comments below. But that's it for now, so I'll be back at it tomorrow.